Morning! Since I checked in with you the other day, both augers are put back together, new chains, they're ready to run. Chris and Jeff are going to get their trucks tested first thing this morning because we are planning on maybe cutting some beans here in the next few hours. Every single bin on the farm has been sprayed with insecticide and shut up, ready to be loaded, excluding the 5 ones in the middle here because they're a lot harder than this south one and the north one, because these ones just have the throw lever door locks. You literally close the door, shut those. The other ones you actually have to bolt close, which I'm in the process of working on that now. I only fired up the camera because I got interrupted by my dad taking the combine to the field a little bit prematurely this morning. I just wanted to make sure you guys were all in the loop. Everything's greased, full of def, full of fuel. Probably could have done a better job cleaning all the windows. We'll worry about that after we get going though. For the sake of comparison, if we were athletes, we'd be in that fancy sprinter stance where you're ready on the line to take off. That doesn't really apply to me because I'm built like a refrigerator, but you guys get the point. Speaking of sprinting, the boss is gonna be upset if I don't get over there and pick him up soon. Those darn farmers always hogging up the road with their big equipment. Wow, that's a double whammy. We got a train too. That's a lot of combine and not very much bridge. I'd say this has seen its better days. Happens to about every trailer receptacle we have. They get smashed one way or another. It's been roughly an hour since we took the combine east to that field. Dad left 30 minutes ago with his draper. I've got the second draper because I'm just gonna go ahead and take it over there. Regardless as to whether or not these beans cut that we're going over to, I know they will be the first bean we cut, so we might as well just get this head over there. So I have worked alongside my dad long enough to know exactly how he functions. If he took the draper over, he's probably cutting a sample right now. He's not communicated that to me, but I know him like the backside of my hand. The field that we're trying to cut does have access from the highway, but there's a lot of traffic. It's honestly just kind of dangerous. By picking this corn here, widening our lane a little bit without having to worry about running over our corn, we can get to the other side of the field. Minimal risk, traffic safety is not an issue. That's why we came out here and picked a little bit. Would you look at that, ladies and gentlemen? I told you, my old man just can't help himself. He's already cut a sample of beans. Hey, look. I think they'll test, but they're just...
Sample here, it might be drier. The farther you go, the greener they are.
You think the better beans are wetter?
Yep.
What did the monitor say they were hitting on the south end?
68 or something.
No, not yield, moisture.
16, 17.
Yeah, it's noon, so...
Wait an hour and 2 and come back.
I'd say we wait till 1:30 and try them again.
Up there.
Yeah, just work our way south. There's a lot of green out there, but it doesn't look like there's a lot of green pods.
No, they're all in the combine.
The real complicated part about cutting soybeans, they behave just like other small grains, like wheat, for instance. It's all about maturity, moisture, and harvestability. Typically, they go hand in hand. You want to make sure that your beans are mature enough that the membrane's separated from the pod. You want them dry enough that they cut easily through the draper, feed into the combine fine. And of course, you want them dry enough that they're not a bunch of mush in your combine from running them through. And you want them probably sub 15% moisture for long-term storage. These are going to be going to a commercial elevator. They want 13% moisture, so probably start 14.5% if we can get them there. Yeah. Yeah, that one. I happen to grab probably a 13% one. The issue with cutting them a little bit on the wet side is you can see some of the wetter beans, or the butter beans as Dad would call them, don't thresh very good. They either stay in the pod or they just go right out the back. And that's definitely money you're losing, so kind of something to weigh as you decide whether or not you want to harvest these beans. They're definitely close. It's just a matter of whether or not we're going to get to them today, tomorrow, or the next day. Dad's pretty much decided to give it about an hour, hour and a half. I've already taken a quick lunch slash snack break. He's going to go grab a bite to eat. I'm going to go ahead and move the grain cart down there, left the pickup. The problem with soybean harvest, whether you store them in your own bin or take them to the elevator, that moisture level is very important. However, even though 13%, maybe 13.5% is perfect, if you wait wait for it to get to that target moisture, there's a lot of opportunity cost involved, because eventually, especially when it's warm and breezy like it is today, you get to 13%, it doesn't stop, then it's 12, then it's 11, then it's 10, and you're kind of losing that free water weight that you get at the elevator, or even when you're storing it in your own bins. You really want that extra couple of percent. That's big money in your pocket. That's pretty much why, if we can get them to thresh through the combine adequately and test through the probe system at the elevator, we'll probably start about 14.5%. I don't usually check the oil just to move this around the yard. I am planning on doing some grain carting here in a few hours, so probably make sure she's got enough blood in her. Our scale head and record keeping this harvest is provided by our friends at LibreCart, arguably the most versatile and easy to use automated grain cart scale system. I was thrilled when we installed this last fall, a few weeks into harvest. It's done nothing but take weight off of my shoulders clerically here in the grain cart. It automatically tracks the loading and unloading, so you don't really have to worry about forgetting it. You can set the field, you can set the trucks, you can set the destination, whether it be an elevator or a bin, and you can even plug a moisture sensor into your grain cart to have a moisture on every load. That's more advanced than we are on our farm, but if you have a grain cart with a scale system, check out LibreCart. It's plug and play other than needing a tablet to run in the tractor. It's awesome. Go check out LibreCart by Agromatics. And no, that was not an advertisement. I genuinely love LibreCart. It's a great product to have in your cart. I'd say within the next few days, we are going to have a ton of crops that are theoretically ready to harvest. Corn and soybeans both. Soybeans always take priority, so we'll be cutting for a while. Where's the most in-the-way spot I can park this grain cart? We'll get creative, do some kind of an angled deal here, make sure that no one can get through without moving it. No, I'm just teasing you all. The joke is that grain cart drivers always find themselves getting in the way during harvest, so I do my best just to make it happen immediately. This right here is the most classic game in farming. Hurry up and wait. The unfortunate part is that all of our soybeans tend to get ready once the first couple fields go. That's why we try and spread out our risk and maturities. The field that we're eyeing down right now is a Pioneer 3-1 bean. It is an early group 3 bean. That is the photo period, or maturity is another way to look at it. That's how quickly it matures based on day length. We go all the way up to a 4-2 this year. That difference is probably 2 weeks, maybe 2.5 weeks in final maturity. But once we start cutting those first beans, it's gonna take us a week. Then we get into those mid-group beans we have planted. And the next thing you know, those late beans are gonna go. That's why we spread those out. Alrighty, soybean experts in the comments, let me know. These tested about 15% on the combine an hour and a half ago. Got a slight breeze today, partly cloudy, so the sun's been in and out. And the temperature is 75, 76 degrees. You think we've shed 1% of moisture in the last hour? Or are these beans still too immature to dry that quickly? Place your bets now. Drying up a little bit. See right there. 13.5, 13, 14. That yield number looks a little off. The hard part about soybeans is, unlike corn, you can't just go out and grab a few ears, shell them, and take them to a moisture tester. The only real effective way to test the moisture of soybeans is to actually cut enough to get a sample, which is what we're doing. You mean like I sprayed that way and you're cutting that way?
That way you're not driving right down.
Sprayer path. Those are read and dry. 12.5% instant bottom left corner. 13, 13.8, 14, 15. I shouldn't have said something.
Did you calibrate the sieve and that stuff on that other combine?
No, I didn't on this one either. Combine showing 13%. Dad's gonna run and get a more accurate sample from a moisture tester, and I'm gonna go round up the other combine in a semi. Those are big beans. Dad definitely sorted some of the pods out. Decent looking beans, really. A few green ones. They're going to commercial storage though, so as long as they test, it's not really our problem. Of course, we're waiting on confirmation on moisture, but I'd say it's time to round up the cavalry here. Everyone's favorite combine operator, my sister Katie. Hello?
Do you have your iPad where you need it?
It's in my grain cart, yeah.
Okay, so it's ready to be dumped on?
Yeah, you can go ahead and load the grain cart. Jeff's backing his truck out now. I'm about to bring the other one. He just wants to load on 45, so.
Well, I'll get a little room made over there then.
Okay. Yep. Dad didn't tell me a moisture, but he wanted to make sure the grain cart was ready to go, so I think it's time to rock and roll. Chris, you're not supposed to stand downwind from the combine. First load. Libra cart making this effortless. I don't particularly feel like doing it. In the spirit of the first day of harvest, it is a tradition on my channel to get some cool drone footage here. first day out with both machines. This is actually going surprisingly well. We're running out of dry beans. When you get to the south end of this 60-acre field, there's a really wet spot, talking 17 to 18%. The north end is dry. We're gonna try to keep cutting, but what we're gonna run into is the main issue with hauling to commercial storage. They're closing at 4:30. Typically during harvest, they do extend their hours till 6 or 7 p.m. shutdown. However, we're the only people harvesting right now, especially cutting soybeans, so I don't think they're gonna play that hand yet just for us, meaning we're gonna cut, get what we can to the elevator. If it's dry enough, we'll load the trucks. If not, we'll pull them to a corner, shut them down, and start thinking about tomorrow. The first full load we took to the elevator an hour ago, tested 12.6, which makes it seem like we know what we're doing. I'm kind of full there, boss man. No sudden movements. Are these dry beans, Dad?
Yes, they are.
Well, if they're less than 12%, probably money ahead to not get them to the elevator. I could get them to the elevator before 4:30, but that seems like a waste.
Have them taken to the overhead, park it in the barn.
Copy that. One thing you'll continuously hear me talk about during soybean harvest is that grain left on the truck will pick up some moisture. That moisture could be anywhere from 1 to 2% depending on the overnight conditions, the humidity, and a few other factors. It's not a big deal if your beans are 10 or 11%, maybe even 12. If they're already 13.5, 14.5, that extra 1 to 2% can really be a killer on dockage at the elevator if that's where you're planning to take it. The conversation I just had with my dad was, if these beans are 12 or under, we might as well just leave them on the truck tonight, because it actually will gain us money if they pick up a percent of moisture, because that's some of our allocated moisture we're taking down the elevator. Once we run out of dry beans, it's quitting time. Can't blend wet ones off if you don't have dry ones to go with it. Running the grain cart's just like riding a bike at this point. Not bad work. Hi, Lenny. It looks like that big 50-watt radio that we installed at home base, aka where I live, is getting put to good use. That's my son Lenny, presumably with the help of my wife Allie, talking to us over the radio. I told her to make sure he doesn't just get a hold of it, because that is
So am I supposed
annoying.
to keep cutting?
And that's
Those beans dry.
Other than 1/2 acre spot of green beans we went around for today, I loaded off 4,350 bushels of wet soybeans. Wet meaning it's not the dry bushels. Have 116 bushels on the cart. Typically, this is within 1% based on my experience. So these 3-1 soybeans planted second week of April, beginning of the second week, made 74, 75 bushels an acre dry. I said wet bushels just to clarify that I hadn't done any accounting for moisture. I looked on the operations center. Combines across this entire field average 12.6% moisture, which means that there is no shrink. Although if the probe at the elevator catches a wetter spot, because there is variation in the loads, well, you might get docked a little bit here and there. Technically, though, it should all average out to that 12.5, 13% moisture we're looking for, which is pretty satisfactory in my eyes. This 60-acre field we just harvested this afternoon is mostly high-quality soil, which means it has both good fertility and, of course, natural water holding capacity. That's exactly what you needed this year, because we really didn't get very many rains, especially in August when it matters for soybeans. The fact that they made 75 means that there was a lot of yield potential left on the table here. If we'd gotten one more rain in June and maybe one good rain in August, we could have had 85 or 90 bushel beans out here. Of course, I make that sound like a very small feat. If I was just 3 or 4 numbers closer on my Powerball ticket, I'd be a billionaire now, but obviously it's not that simple. I do think the lack of rainfall will show as we get to the higher ground up here on the north side of the hill. A lot more lighter soil that doesn't hold water as well. It needs more frequent rainfalls, and it's going to drag the yields down on that side. The South 60, which is usually the most productive unless it's extremely wet, did exactly how you would envision it to. We'll see what that field does tomorrow. Oh, there's my tanker. That's what I need. Back at home base in one piece, which is always a good way to finish a day of harvesting. The dogs are glad to see me. Except for O'Malley, he's sharpening his weapon. Lenny, Daddy just got home from work. He doesn't want to work anymore. Unless you want to start mowing the yard for me. Sounds like a plan. Baby's in there hiding. This cocoon. This kangaroo pouch. Put the pedal to the metal, brother. Go! Just need a Midland radio on there. Were you talking to us on the radio earlier? Alrighty, I'm home nice and early from a fairly easy start to harvest. No complaints so far. I'm going to take off. As always, I greatly appreciate every single one of you continuing to tune in and support the channel. Your viewership means the world to me. I'll catch you all in the next episode. Until then, make sure you like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to see more, and comment down below if you have any questions. You know I love to talk about farming. Have a great day, everyone. Peace!